Listen, let's go. Wealth therapy. Did not having a father help create and make me a millionaire? 100%. Why? Because everything in your life, everything that happens in your life happens for a reason. You will not be able to be where you're at without the things that go on in your life, and you can't change it. One of the things is that my unfortunate circumstances did not allow my dad to be fully present in my life, but that does not mean that he wasn't active or a contribution to my life. And I'm gonna jump into it today about the cause and effects of parenthood, being present, not being present, what it does, but how you deal with it. Because some things we get dealt with in life that we can't change, and anything that we can't change, we just gotta handle it. So tonight, wealth therapy. Did my father not being in my life make me a millionaire? Let's go. AKA Mr. 500, let's go. Anything you want in this world is dependent on. Everybody wants to be wealthy. Everybody wants to get money, but why? I did 25 million the last 2 years. I come from nothing. You gotta move the urgency. You gotta take action. You gotta act. Some of y'all too scared to tell people, fuck you.
Ride big, ice big, nice crib. White fig started out just sweeping flows. Now Fat Boy the CEO.
Everybody want to stand out. You can't be the same and be different. You'll never be the best in your industry if you do what everybody else doing. You know you got the mindset. You know you got the ambition. It's just you haven't got the fuck up. Either I'ma do this shit and execute, or I'ma fucking die.
We talk is wealth, and them dripping sauce. This time we do for self.
I never knew getting money would affect me mentally.
How many of you guys want to be multi-millionaires and create a legacy and a brand? We ain't in this for clout. We out here to get money. It's a whole lot of money in this motherfucker.
It's my wealth therapy.
Listen. Y'all know the saying, look good, feel good, smell good, feel better. Tonight's thing, I'm on the Mojave Ghost. This is one of the classics. Mojave Ghost. Ghost. Not having a father, Ghost, Mojave Ghost. Point intended, y'all get it, but it smells amazing. It's one of them ones that you walk in a room, it's distinctive. If you know it, you know it. If you don't, well, there is me. I'm here. I have arrived. All right, so listen, I ain't been live in 2 weeks, so I'm back. I'm excited about wealth therapy. I'm excited to have a conversation about, did my father contribute to me not having a father contribute to me becoming a millionaire? And I think that's a super important conversation, because I know so many of us deal with different issues, but a lot of times is that the issues that we deal with in life, what happens is that how we deal with it and how we process it is the only thing that we can control. And not being trained on how to process situations leads us down the wrong path. Y'all know in wealth therapy, we got healing hurdles. Anything that we go through in life is just a hurdle for us to overcome, to become a better person, to help us become a better person every time we clear something. And so one of the healing hurdles that I had to deal with was not having my father physically present in my life. Does that help me become a millionaire? That's a deep conversation. It's a lot of different parts that I got to peel back that goes into life, but it's things that I real life had to deal with, right? And I don't think I'm the only person that's had to deal with it, but some of us may deal with it that we didn't have a parent, or some of us may deal with the fact that and understand the importance of like being present, or some of us may be that parent that's not present in a child's life. And that's why it's an important conversation, because this is something that goes full circle, full round. And for my ladies, it's something that's most important, is because what's important about for my ladies, bring it this way. My apologies. I got it. Don't worry about it. There you go. There. But for the ladies, is that why it's also important with when you choose your partner, right? Choosing a partner is super important as well, because it's things that you have to weigh in when it comes to having children and raising these kids, and the things that kind of cause and effects of the parents being together, not being together, being present, not being present, and then you having to live with it and you having to deal with it. So this is a conversation. This ain't just for the fellas. This ain't just for people who don't got a parent, right? This is a conversation that I think is needed and insight for everybody as we grow and we develop and we build wealth. So for me, backstory, Stockton, California, lost my dad when I was 7 years old. He went to prison. Was supposed to do 3 years. and like 2.5 or something like that. It was like 5, something like that. He had like 2.5. He had to do 3. And, you know, I remember going to visit him. And I can remember visiting him in like the county when he was going to court. Then when he got sentenced, he had to go do like 2.5 years over here, 3 years over here. And I remember going to visit him, and I remember him having an out date. And so it was like, okay, he's going to be here for a few years. And we would go up to Tracy to go visit him. And so I remember going to visit him, but I also remember when my dad used to call me, right? My dad, one of the ones, like, he would call me and be like, yo, you got any fights lately, right? And we always laugh. I had a bad habit, like growing up, I always got in a lot of fights. I had a bad habit of fighting as a kid, right? That was one of the things that I did. I was always getting fights. And so he used to always call me, yo, you had to put hands on somebody. And I would laugh, right? The irony of it was always, yeah, right? What happened? And so we would talk about different things. But then now that I revert back to the conversations that we would have of like kind of how he was asking me questions, he would laugh and then he would kind of chime in on it like, okay, but you know, this situation and why and how you handle things like this. And so it's kind of like learning moments and lessons that I probably as much didn't understand as a child, but it was a bonding moment because it was something that I knew he was going to ask me, right? And I knew it was like, damn, he's asking me this, but I got to really stop getting these fights. And I'm gonna bring this full circle to like up until recent. But my dad, I thought he was coming home, and I remember going to visit him, and then it was like, yo, he should be getting home and coming home in a few months. And it was like a few weeks before his release date, the feds picked him up, and from that point, it was a total different case. And so that point, he got sentenced to the long haul. So I remember calling and him explaining his charges to me, and it's things I never imagined. I'm like, yo, I don't know what racketeering is. I don't know what money laundering is. I don't know. So it's certain things that I'm like, okay, he's telling me things, but I don't know what it means. And lo and behold, eventually once he gets sentenced, the new court date come out, he got a release there like 2027, 2029, right? It was like 2032 at one point. You got to understand, it ain't even the year 2000 yet. It's all of 1998, 1999. And so it's like, damn, 32 years is a long time. And so as a kid, as a young man, it's like, okay, it's over. You know what I mean? Like it's over. Like, it's over. But for me, I had to process that. Like, okay, well, you know, those years, it was like so far that it never resonated like he's gonna come home. I never thought about the release date. Like, I was disappointed as a kid expecting him to get released, and he didn't. And they picked him up, and the feds picked him up and then took him. So after that, you know, I kind of, the devastation, the hurt, like, damn, like, all right, well, I'm just gonna go on living how I've been living. So I never considered my dad like the release of like having him back out, what it would be like, what things would be like. It was just like, shit, this is what it is. Like, I'm out here. I'm you know, I got myself. And well, not got myself. I come from amazing family, right? So like my family, my dad, we got amazing family. I got an aunt that's like the big dog, like that. Just, you know, I can't remember a birthday she ain't show up. My 18th birthday, it's crazy. I found a picture the other day. 18th birthday, my auntie showed up, and she's always been like a supporting factor. She's been the example of like what's possible. Like, my dad may have been the example before of like I would hear ghost stories of who he was, but I can't remember because I was too young. So I hear stories of my dad. He had his own music store and he used to do this and these things. But I got to see my aunt who filled in the role when he wasn't there, that showed up, that made sure that went to college, graduated, owned properties, you know, was the one who would, if I need help me pay for football, help me contribute to the things that I did in life, take us on vacations and trips. So I had somebody that stepped in, but it's a woman. So it wasn't like, hey, oh man, you're just out here, you know, raised and just all alone. But I had still my family members that represented that portion and that absentee in my life, you know, amazing grandmother as well. So uncles too, but my aunt, my grandmother really played a pivotal role in my life and in that void that was there on that side. So as a young man, I'm growing up, but I don't realize like things that I look at is that, okay, as I grow and I develop, it's certain things that you just don't have, right? And I think that the stories that I would hear about my father, about how he was giving or how he was a hustler, how he got money and things like that, set precedence in me, right? And I think a lot of times is that those things is that who you are and the stories that you set now, because these are the moments. And for me, what I look at as a parent, as a father, is I look at the stories that my daughters will hear. If anything was ever to happen to me, an early demise, anything, Lord forbid, what are those stories that my children will hear? Because those stories play such a relevant role in the subconscious of how you should operate, how your integrity, how with your morals, what's it like, what's your family values like. And I always got the notion in the things that, like, you know, family is first. Like, you take care of your family, you always look out for your family, you love your family. These were things that was instilled in me, not only said from a message, but I also got to see it. So these are things that kind of help contribute to me as a young man growing up, but also my dad was in the streets, so I hear the hustler and how much, you know, playing with paper, having money, and I'm like, okay, I got to get money. Like, my dad gave me a car at 16, and he left when I was 7, and he gave me my first car at 16. So, you know, it's those type of things, and having that kind of family around to still support and still maintain certain things that you had in to be able to contribute to, you know, some of the sacrifices that you made and mistakes that you've made, and still be there to love and support you throughout. And I look at it and I go, okay, growing up, I still never imagine my dad coming home from prison, right? I told y'all, like, I posted on Instagram, like, my dad told me he's coming home from prison. He said 3 months or 6 months. And my heart started beating. I started feeling like a little kid, like I got fucking scared. And I'm like, all right, this is weird. Like, and then it hit me like, yo, you never thought about it. You've never thought about the reactions. You never self-analyzed yourself. But take it back, how we get here, right? Let's go through my life to becoming who I am, right? I was raised by a father that is very inquisitive, that asks a lot of questions, that is very knowledgeable, that always imputes knowledge to me, imputes wisdom to me. It's never ignorance, right? And I've always had to have it's never a dumb nigga conversation with my dad, right? Like, we ain't never talk about dumb nigga shit. Like, it's rare that we say some shit that's like left. It's usually like he's always want to know, like, yo, what's going on with X, Y, and Z? Yo, how's your health? How are you doing with this? And like certain things and values in my life. How's your relationship? You know, how you doing with your mom? How you guys, you know, how's that relationship like? Like, do you guys get along? Like, he would ask me inquisitive questions and things about my life that I knew I would always have to have a answer. It's never, yo, what's up? Oh man, shit, chilling. It's never that. I never get to have. It's never been that conversation. So I know he's always helped me when I used to get on the phone. Now I'm a little more comfortable as, you know, a man. I'm popping, we be talking, but growing up, it was always when that phone rung and I pressed 5. I had to do this, right? And so I think to myself, though, like, you know, will his contribution with the life that he had lived, would it have hurt me or did it help me? Because his absence, not being here with this ghost imagination of who he was, and having to pick this phone up and having to hold some kind of stature because I'm trying to impress somebody who I can't see their flaws every day. See, I can't see if you're going to show up or if you will lie to me. And if I to ask you to do something and you say, I'm going to do it and you don't do it, or get to see your brokenness and the negative things that you do, that we get to see, and the flaws that we get to see in those who are present, and see the things that they do wrong. I didn't get to see that. And so that's what makes me ask, like, yo, would I be a millionaire? And one thing I look at and I go, like, my mom would tell me, like, you know, one thing your dad says, shit, I'm going to have 3 sons. I'm going to have 3 ugly sons, but they going to have a lot of money, right? Unfortunately, the ugly part didn't happen. You know, I was blessed, right? So that was a blessing. But he said, I'm gonna have 3 ugly sons with a lot of money. But my dad was in the streets, but he was a hustler, but businessman, but he was in the streets. And he was okay with us following suit until he wasn't. And he always tell me, like, one message that I got from my dad is that I asked Allah to take me out of it. My dad's a Muslim. He said, yo, you know, I asked Allah to take me out of this life. I wasn't happy with it. I didn't want to live this life anymore. And I just asked him to do what he seen best to remove this from me and remove me from this environment and from this life that I'm living. And he said, you know, he blessed him with the opportunity to continue his life just confined to a cell. And that's one thing that he had to learn how to cope and deal with. And so I'm like, man, like, it made, as I got older and understood the things that he was into, it made sense to me. But then I think about it is that if he would have stayed free, because you asked to be removed for something doesn't mean you get to be removed from it, and don't mean you get to change your mentality in the environments in which you operate in. You still have to operate it. So if I'm in this environment, it doesn't matter if I don't want to be here. Certain things that I have to do to protect who I am, to protect what I have, to protect it and protect from the things that I've done before, I still got to stand on. I don't get to just turn that away and wipe my slate clean with people who don't like me and people who want to come and or after me and things like that. You don't get to wipe it away. So you have to live a certain lifestyle no matter what for the rest of your life if you stay in this environment. So me being raised in that environment, what would that look like for me, right? And we come out the 80s, so you know, is you know, my dad was a drug dealer, he convicted of it, ain't a secret. And so often I see so many people who were up and was on top of the world and had Benzes, like my dad had Benzes and nice cars and these things. So often you see so many people in my city who was up at one point, now they down and out, down on their luck, right? Kids fucked up, you know, they either using drugs or and they went to prison, came home, and now they trying to figure it out, but they ain't maintain that life. And so that would be another thing. Imagine seeing somebody fall from grace. Can't say they would, but majority of the people that I've seen who was up, I wouldn't trade places with them. I don't respect the position they in now. The big time dope dealers and stuff like that came out of my city, where they at now, I don't respect it. It ain't a commendable type of man, right? Even the ones who still got a little bit of money, it ain't handling like that. Like the shit that I'm living, the way that I'm living, that shit peanuts. And so that's the things that I look at and go, man, imagine if that fall would have happened. And when you got to make those adjustments, or you get hooked on using, or you know, things happen. And I just asked myself, like, was it better that he got put into that situation? Yes, I didn't have a father, which will kind of be a little bit selfish, me wanting him there. But the only thing that I realized now as a man and as an adult is that I learned early on the things that I control is myself. And this is one thing that we got to realize. The only thing that we can control is ourselves. So in this situation, a lot of people go, I don't have a dad. Oh man, if my dad was here, things would be different. You wouldn't treat me like this. I wouldn't have been treated like this. I would have lived different, right? The world will never know. The world will never know. If your circumstances wasn't unfavorable and they were favorable, we don't know what the fuck would have happened, but we don't know what other cards would have been dealt, right? You may got a joker right there, but it don't mean you wouldn't have got a joker 3 years later, that another would have hit you and another bad circumstance would have hit you. We can't predict that. But the one that did hit me, I know it's there and I can't move that motherfucker. So since I can't move it, I can't free you. I can't bring you back. I can't rewrite history. I can't undo the things that you did. All I can do is accept the things that I now have, the cards that I've now been dealt. And the cards that I was dealt was having this imagination and this figment of who now speaks to me every time I press 5. So every time I press 5, I get to speak to somebody who I get to look at pictures of and often go visit. But I get to hear, okay, the wisdom that he teaches me. He tells me about the Quran. He got me reading the Quran, looking at and understanding Islam. And okay, I'm not Muslim, so it's a little fight, but I can't tell him, no, I don't want to hear it. He don't got that kind of energy where it's like, if I say something, I have to explain it. So I don't get to go and say, oh yeah, I don't want, I'm just a Christian. It's like, well, why? what do you, and I already know it. So some things I just gracefully intertwine with, I learn just so we can speak about it. So I don't want to go on that battle, right? But this is the card that I was dealt, and this is what I was raised by. I can't change it. Can I say, oh man, if he was home, things would be different? I don't know, but I don't want them to be different. That's the real kicker, is that people can't accept and deal in their reality. I've lived and dealt in my reality my whole life. I told people when I was fat, that's part of the reason I'm rich, is because being obese and being fat, I was a friendly like teddy bear. I did not come across as a shrewd businessman. I didn't come across as just a straight businessman and things like that. I came across as I had a loving factor, a trusting factor, and that's who I am. But in that chunky persona, it was even more acceptable. My demeanor now is a little more aggressive. People are like, yo, man, you kind of mean or rude. And it's like, yo, you ain't hear how I used to talk when I was bigger. You just didn't listen. But the demeanor and my outer appearance helped me. See, one thing I can understand is I know how to control and I know how to dissect myself in reality. What I do right, what I do wrong, what's in my favor, what's not in my favor, who I am, what's my flaws, what's my strengths. I know all my flaws, but I know all my strengths. And I'd rather stand in those and figure out how to incentivize and how to exploit my strengths than ever acknowledge my flaws. I got you. I know I ain't got a dad. I know it's certain issues that I got, but fuck all that. I can't change it. I'm not finna go live in it for 6 months, 8 months, or a year to try to become this better person. I'm going to bask in my strengths and take every single strong point that came out of this not being here, my father not being here. Why? Because now I feel like I got a point to prove. See, I got shoes to fill that I don't get to see who fucking won. Imagine that. Like, yo, man, your dad he was a get money nigga. Oh, man, he had this, he had that, he had record stores. He used to bring the artists to the city and all these things he used to do. And you go, man, all right, I don't really get to, shit, I guess that's the cloth I'm cut from, so I got things to fulfill. I could look at it and go, he wasn't here, but I just look at things and I always looked at it from a different side of like, okay, this is the morals and the things that I got to be held to. This is the cloth that I'm held to. And that was my leader. That was my leadership and my goal. And that was like that dangling carrot of who was. I didn't get to see it, but that's the crosshairs that we get caught in, because now you finna come into this world and I get to see who you are. Now I get the opportunities to be here to judge you. I ain't crying. I got something in my eye. But I get to be here, and as wrong as it may be, I'm a judgmental person. I don't care who it is. And I got like a certain level of like, yeah, this is what it is, and I see what it is. I accept what it is, and you got flaws, and fuck it. Like my fuck it button is like, fuck that shit. Strong, and then that's what scared me. Like, I have to prepare myself. My mom hit me after I made the post and was like, the adjustment for you is going to be major, and it's going to be just as hard for him. But with your kids and your family, the things that you say and the tone that you set will make it a much easier, because you are going to be the controlling factor in that environment and in that situation. And he's not somebody who's unaware or a person who does not listen. So that's one thing, is that he's not trying to come and be the man or anything like that. It's somebody who listens first before he ever speaks. And I'm like, got that. but I still have to look at the actions that are going to take place. Like, oh man, you lazy. I mean, and it's fucked up. This is just reality. Listen, this ain't perfect. I'm telling y'all the truth. I can't get on here and lie, right? I know you got to give grace and you got to be understanding. I know all that shit. But the reality, oh man, I'm telling you what you got to do, man. Like, yo, why you ain't doing it? Like, I get on y'all ass, all my entrepreneurs, all my mentees, like, yo, I told you you should do X, Y, and Z. That's the best plan. Oh man, I'm thinking this way, and you go on your own round, you bump your head. It's like, man, fuck that. I ain't got time to be wasted. But that's just how that's me, and that's the part that scares me, because I don't want that factor of me to be in my relationship with my father, knowing that I'm gonna be a leading factor and contributor to his life when he comes home. And I'm like, that's the thing that scares me, because when I look at, like, I had a conversation with my brother, and I said, I had a lot of stories in the imagination, in the lessons and the things that he would tell me over the phone that I could look back on. But like, my brother was the example that was like my living imagination of him. He was like my living figment of him. Like, my big brother is like, okay, you hella strong-minded, you hella strong-willed, you hella determined, you stand on principles, right or wrong. You gonna go either way of the spectrum, all the way. What I picture is like, yo, it's like you, right? But you're a little bit older than me, a couple years, and I hang out with you, and we got a different kind of bond back now. And I go, damn, for so many years, I've mentally and subconsciously kind of like replaced my dad in human form with like my big brother when it comes to certain topics, and certain things is who I call and lean on for his dialect, his mindset, the way he thinks is different from mine. And so it's like, damn, when he come into this role, like, I've never been able to call my dad on a whim when I want to talk about something. Now I gotta wait for him to call me. If he on lockdown, I may not hear from my dad for 30 days, 60 days. So it's times where it's like, okay, you not that person. You haven't been that person. But now to have you here and knowing like the wisdom that you have, that you had, and that you have of life, but not the real life experiences, I still probably can't grant you that. Like, I'm just thinking out loud, right? And it's like, okay, it's a blessing that I get to discover this though. Like, that's the biggest blessing, is that I get to find out. I get to find out and feel like what it's like to have my father and get that second opportunity. Because like Neo said, and my dad went to jail when I was 2 and he died in jail. And he never got the second opportunity to even build that bond, right? And for me, I don't want to be selfish and act like, yo, oh man, you ain't appreciating what you got. Like, I appreciate this opportunity, but it's still scary to be like, yo, to not have that parent in your life and to have them coming home like, yo, I'm excited for the experiences that we'll be able to have. It's going to be dope. But the personal exchange, that personal bond, that human side that I got to deal with, like, not him 500, none of that shit. Is Marcus born a kid? Yeah. That, you got to go deal with your dad. You got to talk to your dad. And then he's somebody that's down there going to know you better than you know yourself, because DNA a motherfucker, right? My dad teaches in the prison. In prison, he's in the feds. He teaches in the prison. He's one of the educators in there. And I laugh and I be like, when you come home, he like, it's so many things I want to do. It's some few things I've been studying on and looking into. So he'll ask me to send him curriculums and stuff like that. And so I send him things and he like, okay, it's things that I want to study. Funny thing is that like storage units is one of the things he want to look to get into, right? And so I'm like, okay. And we talk about things, but I'm like, that's one thing that you want to get into, that you want to do. So we talked about it and like what it would look like, what that process would look like at a higher level. So it's like, you getting in the storage units, he was like, I want to figure out how to buy things from them, and go and sell, and how to basically buy and start getting into the storage units business and understanding how they work and how they function. So he's like, I don't care if I got to start learning, if it's going in when I'm buying them and shipping them and doing things like that and selling things. And I was like, I got you, but we ain't on that. I'm gonna teach you. I got the game on how to actually buy them, and you can own them and show you this game. So we talked about it, and he was like, yeah, well, send me that curriculum so I can study it. And he's one of the ones he studies to a T. So I'm like, okay. So we had these conversations, but at first everybody like, yo, my brother, we think alike and we think different. He was like, Pops may not be ready to be jumping on jets and everything when he come home. It's gonna be a big adjustment. And my brother had a conversation. My brother called me back like, man, I don't know. He surprised me. He said, nah, man, don't say no shit like that. I want to experience everything. Like, I want to see it all. Like, I want everything. I want to be able to do everything. And so that excites me because it's like, oh, you want to be on the, you with the bullshit too? Cool. You want to go fuck off? You willing to go jump on the jets and shit? Cool. We get to go have fun. And it's just a lot of things that come into this that I'm like, okay, as you get ready to come home, now I got to prepare for it, right? And I'm like, okay, no man ever want another man to feed him. Plain as day. No man want another man to feed him. I don't give a damn. Oh, you a son, you blessed, so you could do this. Yeah, that's all cool. I don't come from a sucker. So he ain't the one. Like, my dad has never asked me for money. I gave my dad $150 before, and it was for a book, some books and stuff that we talked about. And I was like, I'm gonna send them to you. He ain't never asked me for money, and thank God for his family and my aunt that really is a support system. And I tell you, family first, that has been there and been that bridge, not only for myself and helping us and with me in my life, but also I know it's helping him. And that's been a blessing, but my dad has never asked me for money. So to be like, yo, I got a son out here who's a millionaire, multi-millionaire, he's never asked me for money. And so what I do know is that he's not going to come home and be comfortable being like, yo, can I have something, right? It's the same thing that I'm cut from. Like I tell y'all, the reason I learned credit, because I ain't going to ask the investor to invest in my business. I don't need you to invest in my business. I'm going to get in my goddamn self. I get it out the muscle. You ain't finna own shit that I put. I want what I want, and I'm going to get that. And I'm going to do whatever it takes to get that and be who I am. That's just how I'm cut and how I'm standing on it. I know what I'm going to have to deal with when it come to that. Like, oh man, don't say nothing. So I'm like, all right, I got you. Don't worry about it. That credit been getting built for 8 years. Don't worry about it. I knew you was coming home in a few. Don't worry about it. You straight. Okay, what else we need to do? Right. And so these are the things that I'm already prepared that he don't know that I'm already on. I got all. Don't worry about it. I got you. So when I look at it now, I look and go, okay, we got to start building and getting ready for you to come home. And I said, somebody presented me with something. It was like, I got some people with speaking gigs, things like that, starting off probably at about 10,000 for him to speak. I said, perfect. And I asked him, would you want to speak? Because I had an ignorance. Look, y'all getting to see it right now. I'm being honest with y'all. I had an ignorant side to me, an ignorant stance when I had a conversation. And I was like, man, fuck all that prison shit. Like, when you come home, man, leave all that, want to help people not go to prison and all of that shit. Like, man, leave that shit at the gate. Like, when you come home, man, that shit over with. Like, come out here, let's figure out what you're going to do. Let's figure out massages. Let's figure out, your therapy. When you need to work out, go to your mosque. Focus on you. Focus on your grandkids and be life and learn how to enjoy life again and get adapted to this world. Fuck that prison shit. You did enough there. Leave it there. And my aunt explained something to me and was like, but that's the only work experience he has. So you can't take that from him, because spending 30 years there, this is literally the only experience that he knows. And I said, damn, there you go again. I'm wrong. Okay. So I spoke to him, and that's why I said, okay, well, then we're going to figure out how to get to it there. So start lining it up. Like, yo, listen, it's a lot of people who got funds and a lot of different programs out there that help with prison reform and recidivism. I fuck that word up recidivism, whatever it is, they're going back to prison, right? I'm gonna learn that word. I was gonna say, whatever. I'm gonna learn that word to get it right though, right? But y'all get what I'm saying. But it's a lot of people and things like that I can build relationships for to start being able to generate that and bridge that gap, especially with the field that I'm in, it's already needed. And so for me to be able to educate him and kind of share insight and share game with him is amazing. But now it's like, okay, well, you still need to figure out ways and things to help and not give. Nobody wants to be hand fed. I want to be able to go and earn mine. I want to be able to give me resources and tools to be able to go and earn mine so I can provide, because I still have other children. I have grandkids. I'm not going to ask you for money to take my grandkids out. I already, like, I wouldn't even want to put a man in that position, but I definitely would be prideful to give an opportunity where I'm blessed at now to do that and still go experience life with my father, but to be in a position to help on a path that, we on when it comes to education and public, figures and things like that. But something that I'm gonna go into that I want to talk about that I don't want to leave out, right, is as parents, would I be a millionaire if my father was here? It's probably no. I got to lead. I got to follow the lead of something that I didn't directly get to see, and it was a figment of all highlights and all strong points. I didn't know flaws, right? But I had something to follow off of. And one thing as a man and as a father for myself, when we talked about Deion Sanders, his son, LeBron James' son, right? You look at them and they the highest paid athletes. People like, oh, it's they rich because they're fathers. Duh. Y'all remember, and I got a video clip and I said it. You ain't shit because your daddy ain't shit. And we used to think it was funny. You ain't shit because your daddy ain't shit. But the underlying message is that if your parents don't lead you down a certain pathway or give you something to shoot for or give you a target to hit, something to put in front of you to help you become greater, because everybody, comparison is a thief of joy, what the fuck ever. If somebody come before me that's great, I'm trying to be greater. I want to learn from your experiences, but I also want to surpass those that's in front of me. I want to be better than my parents. I want to do more than my parents did. I want to be greater than they were. Okay, you was able to do that. Okay, then this is the type of things that I can do. The tone has now been set for who I am, who I can be, and what I can accomplish. Once my parents set that out, it's now my job to go further as somebody who's ambitious, who's fully competent, and has the drive to go and do something. That's the power of having parents in your life. My parent wasn't there, but it still was, that figment was there. The bad part is that a lot of us don't realize is that we set low ass bars. And when that bar is set low, because we don't get up, we on the road to building wealth. It's wealth therapy. We talk about getting money. It's a lot of things we got to overcome. But don't think you only overcoming it for yourself. You overcoming this shit because the tone that you got to set for those coming behind you to be like, nah, the bar up here and we don't accept nothing else. This is what we come from. This is what it is. It's excellence or better. It's greatness or better. What you gonna do, right? It's only a certain level of which you can operate in. So for us coming out of these environments, we've been so traumatized by having a lack of parents in our house because everybody's parent wasn't all one that went to jail and had great stories. Some people's dads and parents went to jail and had horrible stories. He was a piece of shit. Fucking crackhead. He was drunk all the time. Used to hit on your mama, this, that, and third. Or he was a killer. All he did was shoot him up, bang, bang. So now you think you a killer. And all you want to do is shoot to live in his honor. And you thinking that this is how I'm cut. I ain't no punk. I'm a gangster. These are the things like it's the tones and the things that get said. Oh, man, my father is here or he's just not present. This nigga's a sucker. He's a bitch. So in reality, a lot of us get set with bad tones. I just happen to get a good tone set for who my father was because of what he left and what he built for himself that made me impressionable to it. But so many of us don't have that example. But what we do got to realize is that we may not have had that example, and you may not have became a multimillionaire yet. But as you're on the road to doing so, realize is that the way that you operate And not being a good parent is not just being present in your kid's life or buying them things. It's also the integrity, the hustle that you show on a daily, the things that you do, the examples that you set, the stories that will be told. Because guess what? My kids remember going feed, when we go out, we go feed the homeless. My kids know I do wealth therapy. My kids know I got an education system. My kids know recession proof. They know our brand colors. They know a lot of the things that we do when it comes to my jet business. Daddy work. He go help other entrepreneurs create businesses. Daddy hires and helps and pays millions of dollars in salaries to help and hire other people that runs, and they do a business, they run a business. Like, they understand it, right? And so all the opportunities that I'll present to them to make them greater people than I am is amazing. But when they got to look back on these stories, when they got to look back and see my videos, when they got to look back and see the testimonials, they got to look back and they see everything that they dad accomplished, all my awards and the things that I was able to do. It's like, damn, this is the bar that was set. This is the lane of which I operate in. Okay, that's on the financial side, but then on the personal side, my dad helped send his niece to school. My dad helped pay for his niece to go to college and send her overseas to go to college and study. My dad had me go to China to study and learn Chinese. Like, these are things that my dad actually did. My dad bought his mama a house. Like, these are things that my dad actually did. This is how he stood on it, who he was. Means a lot, but a lot of times we got to overcome the hurdles and the traumas, but we can't look at them for the negative trauma. I mean, the negative hurdles that we got to overcome. We got to pull the positive out and realize, okay, well, what does this situation do and how can this affect me positively? Because me not having a father could, man, my dad was supposed to come home. He didn't come home. It depressed me. It caused a level of depression. I started gaining weight. These things start happening. I got into more fights. This, it was just a bad thing. And just to know, like, yeah, like, damn, like, he's never coming home. And I'm raised by a single mom. My mom struggled to get by, but she made it happen. Had to go to college. I see my mom work and go to school at nighttime. And it's just us. She ain't got nobody to help her, right? We don't got no other help. Ain't nobody around us to really help and contribute to what my mom going through raising me as a single mom. Like, shit fucked up, right? We driving an old beat up car. Like, man, damn, life ain't fair. Like, man, we didn't have a house. We got kicked out of it. We ended up having to go sleep in the projects at my auntie house. And it's now 7 of us in a 2-bedroom, or 6 of us in a 2-bedroom, 680 square foot, single story project building. Damn, nah, fuck all that. My mama hustler. She went to work, went to school, graduated, went, bought a house, showed me, taught me real estate. My dad was a hustler, stood on morals, understood principles of family, was about getting money, stood on morals, ethics. He went away. He made some bad decisions, but his bad decisions cost him, but he's willing, and he stood in it and accepted what he did, and he stood in it. He never complained. He never cried. He said this is what he got to deal with, and he was happy with it. He was okay with it. He ain't never showed me a sign of weakness. We don't got weakness in us. When bad situations happen, nigga, you don't fold, you don't bend, you don't break, you don't act like no bitch about nothing that you go through. You stand in it, especially if it's something that you inflicted on yourself and you're aware of. These are things that come into my life and how I was raised and what I stand on. That's why I stand here, the man that you see today. That's why I'm able to accomplish the things that you see today. Why? Because I'm not whining about nothing. Oh man, bad things happen. I don't care. Things happen in life. We're going to deal with it. And whatever come about it, I'm going to stand on it. And I'm okay with whatever. I'm okay with anything life throw my way. I'm okay with it. And I've always been okay with it. So that's the thing, is that, but these are things that how I approach the situation to be great. And this is how you got to approach it, because we got a lot to overcome, because the environments that I come out of, which most of us come out of, we don't got parents. We always missing the parents. Drug hit our houses. We're the generation. Most of us, anyone between the ages of 30 to 42, 45, drugs hit our community so hard and hit our parents. It didn't hit us as bad. Now we got the young kids, y'all on perks. If y'all choose to do that weirdo shit and do the drugs after we seen the cause and effects that drugs had on us, how it took us away, how it took our families away, how it took our parents away. If you choose to indulge in those type of activities, you're a fucking idiot, because drugs already did enough to us and enough damage. But are you an idiot? No, this is the bar that's been set for you, and you couldn't take away the positive from the negative bar. So that's why people get indulged in it. That's why people get caught in it. But I want us and those that tap in with me as we build on this journey. It ain't got to be a million of us. But shit, if it's 1,000 of us, imagine how many lives change. If it's 100 of us, imagine how many lives change because the generations that come behind, the people who are out influenced from the outside watching in, all of those people tune in and get to see what it is as we build it. So I just want y'all to understand that, like, yo, as we go through this life, would I be a millionaire if I had a father? Hell no, right? Probably not. If my father was free, I probably wouldn't be here. Why? Because my life would be different. He probably would have spoon fed me. I don't know. But I know that because of the situation that got presented to me of where I'm at, I'm not going to complain about it. I'm going to accept it. I'm okay with it because I'm okay with my life now. And I'm okay with it. I was okay with my life when it wasn't great. It's easy to say it now, 100%. Oh, yeah. Live in a multi-million-dollar estate and you got this. And it's easy for you to say, life is great. I would be happy too. No, I've been okay with my life forever. That's why I stand in what I stand in. I really want y'all to just understand we're not going to be able to control. We can't control everybody else's actions. We can't control the actions of our parents. Parents that's not there. I know some of y'all got parents that's not there that's free. I'm reading in my comments when I talked about my dad, how many people like, man, my parents sitting here, they free. They still don't show up. I have people that got parents in jail that call home and they always fucking begging. Like, it's like, yeah, you my child. You left me out here to fend for myself, and now you got to call home and ask me to take care of your ass. All unfair. But what are the pros in the situation? Because it's always easy to identify the negatives. But what are the pros in the situation? Because I kind of identified things and pros in my situation that you probably never looked at in yours, or things that was set in yours or that you didn't look at, or in other systems. Portions of your life. So another portion of your life that you may need to look at that way. You may not be about your parent being in prison. It may be something else that you got to figure out. Man, I just want to extract the good out of the situation, because there is some good, or things that have been holding on you and sitting on you, and things that hold you down in life that's negative, that you allowed to get the best of you, that you never even tried to look and see what it did for you on the positive side, right? You never looked at it like, yo, well, what did this do good for me? Is there something good that this did for me that I can pull out and extract, so I don't have to sit and focus and dwell on the things that's negative, or the things, the pain that it caused. I don't want to live in the pain. I want to live in the progression. I want to live in the positive. I want to live in the prosperity side. I want to live in the prosperous side, to where even if it's not that grand, it's not that, it doesn't blossom that much, that big, I still want to live on the side that's brighter than the negative side. Because if I live and exist in this type of environment, it does not only happen in the relationship and the cards that I was dealt. This also happens in the cards that I deal myself, and the opportunities that come about. I start to learn when situations arise how to exist and blossom on the brighter side, no matter what. It's always two sides to a coin, but I always learn how to extract the lighter side. I always extract the side that blossoms. Why? If I constantly do that, I constantly grow. I never look at the diminishing side. I never look at the dying side. I never look at the dark side, because nothing grows in the dark. Everything grows in the light. And so for me, I want to always focus on the things that blossom. And so when I look and ask myself, would I be a millionaire with my father being here? I probably wouldn't, because the opportunities, the struggles, the things that I overcame, the life lessons that I had to face, some of them probably would have got eliminated with his presence and him being there in the flesh. I probably wouldn't be as strong. I probably wouldn't be as determined. I probably wouldn't be as much of a dog. I don't know. I may be greater. But the question is amazing. The answer is good, but in reality, I don't give a fuck. Only thing I give a fuck about is that I understand he ain't here, and he couldn't be here. It ain't nothing I can do to change it. And anything that I can't change, and I can't dwell on it. Will I be or not? I don't give a damn. I am who I am, and I'm okay with who I am today as a man. No matter what goes on in my life, I'm okay. That's one thing that I'm okay with myself. So I'm self-sufficient and self-satisfied. Now, dealing with my father coming home is a part of me that I got to grow to that I forgot about 27 years ago. And now I've developed into this person, into this man that I am today. I'm thankful for the wisdom that I have and the experiences that I have to be able to analyze situations, to be able to think, to be able to provide opportunities to say, okay, I can at least now, though, when this arises, I am who I am. And now who I am can be a good benefit and contributing factor into this father-son relationship that I get a second chance at. I can be a contributing factor, an actual blessing into this environment for somebody who was a blessing to me indirectly, but directly, right? And that's one thing that I'm thankful for and that I don't want to take for granted. And looking at the situation, like I identify myself. Myself is one part, the most important part of this environment, this equation, this situation. The most important part is me. I understand me. I control me. I'm content with me. You got to be content with you before you ever go into another situation. But now, me being content with me, I tell you, I can judge myself. I can look and critique myself. And as I do so, that's where I look at and get scared because I know how I handle people. And what I don't want to do is mishandle a person because I never had this opportunity or this engagement or this much vulnerability that was open to somebody. Only person I had that was a parent was my mom. That's my dog. That's my right-hand man. I know her. Like, she know me. Hey, if my mom don't talk to me in so long, X amount of time or something, she could feel it. Nigga, I need to come give you a hug. I need to hug my son. I'm finna pull up. I'm outside. Doop. She know I'll be moving. She know, hey, she'll call me. I call back. Or she'll text me. Boom, boom, boom. This is what I wanted. I need you to know this. This happened. This going on. Call me about this. Okay, I'm gonna hit you in the future. Me and my mom got a relationship like that, but she know I'm always running and I'm always busy. But we got it to where our communication is our communication. I don't know what it's like to not have to dial 5 or to be able to call my dad. Like, never in my life have I been able to pick up the phone and be like, Dad, call him and say, yo, what's going on? We'll talk to you about something. Yo, let's go do this. It's never been a time. So I don't know what that feels like. And then I don't know what it feels like to have him let me down either. That's the part I was like, damn, like, what if your level of excellence and your level of operation, because I operate at such a strong level, such a high level, what if you don't live up to what I thought or see the things I think or thinking he was smarter than what he is? And it's like, damn, you use these things to make you strong. But those things that you use to make you strong are now going to be things that can kind of hurt your relationship at the second chance you get to have a father. And that's things that I got to deal with to be like, okay, pull back and don't have high expectations, understand what it is. But you can say don't have high expectations, but the bar has been set mentally in my head of who this person is, the wisdom that they infuse, the way that they speak to me, right? Still, some of those things can't change, but words and then match with the actions is the thing that's like, man, okay, how are we going to deal with this? How is this going to be? How do I adjust to it? You know, and the funny thing is, like, I look back and I know, like, sometimes people go to prison and they grow or they remember they leave life how they left it, right? And so my dad the other day was talking to my daughter and he said, you know, I'm going to be able to see you in a little bit. And he said, you want to go for a pony ride? And I started laughing. I'm laughing to myself like, that's the shit he did with us. Take us to ride horses and go on pony rides and shit like that. And so those was things that I got to see, right? And he's like, and I'm gonna take you to get your nails done. I want to take you to get your nails done. Can we go do that? And she like, yeah, right? And that's what helped me. And I said, okay, I'm excited for him to come home because he was always a person that was like more active and there. But now he get to come home and do it with my kids. And so that was the blessing part. So I said, you know what? I'm excited for it, but I have to work and control me. And I know that's the only thing that I can control in this world is myself. So listen, another episode of Wealth Therapy. I'm telling y'all one thing, parenthood and being present in our children's lives is the most important thing. But sometimes, even in the moments that you're living up to now, if you have no kids, the person who you are when you do have a kid will still impact them, because these are the stories that's going to be told. These are the things, the myths, the legend, the stories, the character traits, the morals, your ethics of how you stand and what you were about will live with you forever. So everything that you've ever done in life up until now, those stories that people got about you, what do they say? And moving forward, what do you want them to say? I just hope that play a part in everybody that's here tonight. Listen, another episode of Wealth Therapy, y'all. Let's get it. Anything you want in this world is dependent on. Everybody wants to be wealthy. Everybody wants to get money, but why? I did $25 million the last 2 years. I come from nothing. You gotta move with urgency. You gotta take action. You gotta act.
Some of y'all too scared to tell people, fuck you.
Ride big, ice big, nice crib. Wife fig, started out just sweeping flows, now Fat Boy the CEO.
Everybody want to stand out. You can't be the same and be different. You'll never be the best in your industry if you do what everybody else doing. You know you got the mindset. You know you got the ambition. It's just you haven't got the fuck up. Either I'ma do this shit and execute, or I'ma fucking die.
We talk is wealth, and them dripping sauce. This how we do for
I
self.
never knew getting money would affect me mentally.
How many of you guys want to be multi-millionaires and create a legacy and a brand? We ain't in this for clout. We out here to get money. It's a whole lot of money in this motherfucker.
It's my wealth therapy.